Yes, all right. We have been talking about what is a race. Is it just a cultural term? No, it is actually a biological term. So it's quite in order to speak of races. And in fact, if you look up the Oxford English Dictionary, uh, the word race, as John showed, has lots of meanings, but there is one that is specifically listed as being biology, right? And it just means a population within a species that is distinct in some way, especially a subspecies, right? So we all know what a species is. It's basically any group that can interbreed with one another. Now, notice it is within a species. So whatever race you might have, and this is biology in general. So we're talking about plants, fungi, animals, as well as human beings. All right, it is the same species as the other races within that species, and can interbreed with other members of the species. And just a couple of examples might help. Um, Here is a plant species. Uh, you don't need to know this. It's just a little moss called spreading earth moss. And if you actually look up plant classification races, you will actually get some results. And this was one that I found with this description: four different ecotypes, in other words, variations related to the ecology, i.e., the ecological races of this species, stored in the International Moss Stock Centre. Well, you might not know about that place, but notice that they do actually use the word race. Now, if you do look this up, you'll find that picture on Wikipedia, and you think, oh, well, that's just Wikipedia. That's not real science. Well, let's try some real science, or what people would call real science. This is from a journal called Theoretical and Applied Genetics, and it's a rather technical article called Identification of Polymorphisms Within the Rose Multiflora. And that's the name of a gene, MURDR1A. We give genes really interesting names these days, right? Linked to resistance to multiple races of this particular organism, Diplocarpon rosei W, in tetraploid garden roses. So what is this particular organism with this lovely name, Diplocarpon rosei? No, it's not actually a rose, but it is associated with rose. You might recognize it if you grow roses. Anyone recognize this? Yes, it's black spot disease, which is caused by a fungus. And here it is here. And for people who grow roses, it's a sort of constant battle. So what this article was about was looking at some roses are more resistant to this particular fungus, but within that fungus, there are different races. There are different subgroups of it, which vary in how virulent they are or how pathogenic. And this is just one of the quotes from the article, giving a bit of the background. 11 different pathogenic, that means disease-causing races of D. rosei, this particular organism, have been identified in characteristics, and 2 additional races have recently been reported. In other words, they're using the word race as simply a subgroup within a species. So it is a genuine biological term that can be used to describe a group of individuals within a whole species, but are still part of that same species. It's just that they have some distinctive feature. So if we go back to the Oxford English Dictionary and look at our long list of definitions for race, there is one that is related to human races. And this is the definition: race, each of the major groupings within humankind, is considered to be, in various theories or contexts, that's actually in the dictionary, I didn't add that, to be divided on the basis of physical characteristics or shared ancestors. In other words, there is something that you can physically see, or there is some genetics that you can trace back to. And we'll have a look at the more details of that next week. This is big topic, so we need 2 weeks to go over it. But just briefly, yes, you can tell different human races just by looking at people. Now, obviously, they're all people, they're all human beings, but there are distinctive features that enable us to see, oh, yes, that person belongs to a certain particular ethnic group or these different people. So if we have a look at these people, well, yes, they're Japanese. Now, you might think, well, you can tell that by their dress, but you can actually tell it if they were dressed in Western clothes, in European clothes, we would still call them Japanese. So that we see different characteristics like skin color, like eye shape, and that those are distinguishing features. Now, it doesn't make anybody more than human, less than human, different from human. They're just variations within kind, but they are visible and they are there. And so we can see variations, particularly in skin color, comparing our English friends with various other colors. So races are real. And next week we will have a look at some of the genetic and biblical history behind that. Here are a couple of our friends at one of our events, and notice one of them is wearing one of our T-shirts. We're not related. No, we're not related to any apes or any supposed ape-like creatures, but we are related to each other.